don't be so nervous, Mr. Soros. We've only just begun. Now is not the time for fear.
It's fair to say George Soros is not the most popular person on planet Earth. But why? Let's get into it. Soros began his career at the Merchant Bank Singer and Friedlander in London, working as a clerk and later moving to the arbitrage department. Fellow employee Robert Mayer encouraged Soros to apply to his father's brokerage house, FM Mayer of New York. Soros did, and worked as an arbitrage trader for FM Mayer, specialising in European stocks. He then moved to Wertheim Co and worked as an analyst of European securities. He then moved to Arnhold and S Bleichroeder, where he was a vice president. In 1967, he managed his first offshore fund, the First Eagle Fund, with $100,000 of the firm's money to experiment with his trading strategies. In 1969, his success led him to launch the Double Eagle Fund, this time with $4 million of investors' capital, including $250,000 of his own money. In 1970, Soros founded Soros Fund Management and became its chairman. In 1973, due to perceived conflicts of interest limiting his ability to run the two funds, Soros resigned from the management of the Double Eagle Fund. He then established the Soros Fund and gave investors in the Double Eagle Fund the option of transferring to the Soros Fund or staying with Arnhold and S Bleichroeder. They chose Soros, and the $12 million the Double Eagle Fund had at the time formed the basis of the Soros Fund. It was later renamed the Quantum Fund in 1978. It is named after the uncertainty inherent in the markets, and how the wave function collapses to certainty when one is privy to insider information. The Quantum Fund is hailed as one of the best performing hedge funds of all time, generating an annualized return of around 35% net of fees for 25 years. The Quantum Fund is the reason why George Soros is so rich. Now, some people are skeptical of these returns. They look at Jim Simons and Rentech, full of some of the smartest mathematicians and physicists in the world, who have been building their machine learning infrastructure since the 1980s, and think, yep, those returns are amazing, but it makes sense, it is rational. Then they look at the Quantum Fund and think, that doesn't seem rational. They even suggest insider trading. Of course that is ridiculous. After all, Soros has never been charged with insider
Wow. I don't believe it.
In 2011, Soros converted his Quantum Fund into a family office, a move that allowed it to avoid a new level of regulatory oversight facing many hedge funds, Dodd-Frank. He also felt that these changes in the SEC disclosure rules would compromise his duties of confidentiality to his investors. Soros is widely regarded as the man who broke the Bank of England. On the 16th of September 1992, Soros profited $1 billion by shorting more than $10 billion worth of pound sterling. This cost Britain £3.3 billion, and it was forced to withdraw from the European Exchange Rate Mechanism, the ERM, after a failed attempt to keep the pound above the lower currency exchange limit mandated by the ERM. Of course, this is not the primary reason why many dislike Soros. He has been accused of wreaking havoc in various countries, not just with his currency speculation, but also his push for open borders. One of the definitions of power is the ability to influence change. Money can be an instrument of change and therefore can give one the ability to propagate their particular ideology if they so wish. The way Soros achieves this is via his Open Society Foundations, which provides funding to various causes. It is said that a huge influence on Soros was Karl Popper, his tutor at the London School of Economics. Popper was the originator of the term Open Society. In 2017, the Open Society Foundations announced that Soros had transferred $18 billion of his fortune towards funding the future work of the foundations, bringing his total giving to the foundation since 1984 to over $32 billion. Of course, this has nothing to do with dodging tax. This charitable organization has a clear ideological aim to create a particular type of society characterized by increasingly open borders. Whether you agree with those ideological aims or not, what's important to emphasize is that the $32 billion is not necessarily charitable. It is more aimed at advancing his ideology. By the way, this is the same on both sides of the political spectrum.
And when you look at the most successful people that operate in these tentacles, that's what they do. Look at the Koch brothers. That's what they do. They have built a network of influence based on capital. Their worldview is propagated into the world at an unbelievably aggressive rate that has been compounding for decades. That is genius. It is genius. It doesn't matter whether you agree with their worldview.
Some would argue that it's all fair game. After all, as long as everything is above board and within the law, then more power to Soros and the Kochs to spread their particular ideology. However, others would argue that the law itself is corrupted, designed by billionaires for billionaires. What do you think? Comment below.
So we are not
licensed to do business in the United States.
That's right.
Because?
Because we are not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Because we find it more convenient to operate without it.
So in some ways it's to escape regulation.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've been sitting here talking about the need for regulation.
Yes, and whatever regulations are imposed, we will obey, we will.